Hello and welcome to Sheila's Stamping Wishes. Today we're going to be doing a card that's real quick and simple. It's one I've not made this technique before, but it's a curtain fold. And I'll show you a couple of them that I did already. This is one of them that I just really enjoy, this black and white look. And then another one I just did kind of a fun one where I actually did two of them and put them end to end and used our gnome and yeah, made that card. So I'm real pleased with the way it came out. So today we're going to do another black and white version, and what you're going to need for it is I'm using the scallop and contour dies, and I used this scallop piece, and I'll show you that in just a minute how I used it. We are using the beautiful painted textures embossing folder for the background. And our go-to greetings, my very favorite. I wish we had more greetings with this font because I just love the font. But it can be used for every occasion. And so what you're going to need for this is you're going to need, of course, your base card. And I'm doing this a white. So that's 5.5 by 8.5. And that's scored at 4 1/4. Okay, let's set that aside. Then you're going to need a piece of the black cardstock, and what I did was take a piece that was probably, let's see, it was probably about 4 and I want to say it was 4 1/4 by about 5.5, but by the time I cut it up and everything it'll be much smaller than that. But what I did was take that contour scallop die after I put it through the texture die, and I'll bring it up and you can see that texture in it. Beautiful. It kind of reminds me of a wall texture on some faux type wall paintings that I've seen before. And then I wanted a top for my curtain, so we're going to use this one right here. But I saved this because this was the other end of this piece of cardstock, and I only needed this to be 4 inches from this distance to there. So I'll use this at a later time again for the top of one of those curtain cards. But don't throw your pieces away, they're always come in handy. Alright, so to make your curtain, you're going to need a DSP. Let me bring my cutter over here. You're going to need a piece of DSP that is 10 inches long this way. So this is scrap from making the other card. And then you want to cut it at 4 3/4. So let's go ahead and bring it in at 4 3/4. Alright, so once you get your 4 3/4, then you need to be able to, and I'm going to flip this onto the other side when I cut it and mark it. But you're going to need to mark it on one end at 3/4. And I'm hoping that, let me make sure you can see this by pushing this a little further out this way, grabbing my pencil. So I've got it lined up here at the 3 3/4. And I'm going to mark it right at that mark there at 3/4. Flip it around. And on the other end of the opposite side, I'm doing the 3/4 again. Okay? Now once you've marked your pieces, you're going to line up the one mark up here and the other mark down here and close your cutting blade, and you're going to go ahead and cut it, and you're going to get 2 pieces. And I'll use one for one card and one for another card. So let's set one of those pieces aside, and now I'm going to bring in my scoring board. When I have a lot of score lines, I prefer using that particular board. Okay, so now we're going to, let me get some of this off of here. It's making my board wobble. There we go. Alright, so this is very simple. You're going to go score at 2 inches. And then you're going to score at 1 inch. You're going to score at 2 inches. Then you're going to score at 1 inch. 2 inches, and then 1 inch. Okay, very simple. So if you need the measurements as they are here, that would be at your 2 inch, your 3 inch, I'm sorry, let me get back started. My phone started texting. I forgot to turn it off. Alright, so we've got 2 inches, 3 inches, 5 inches, 6 inches, 8 inches, and the 9-inch mark. Or just remember 1 inch, 2 inch, 1 inch, 2 inch, 1 inch, and so forth all the way through. Okay, let's set this aside. Now what we're going to do is go ahead and we're going to do a valley fold first, and then we're going to come back on the next score line. Let me see if I can see it, because I didn't do it very deep. And then we're going to do a mountain, a valley, a mountain, a valley, and the last one will be a mountain. And this is what you're going to get. Okay, so you know you have it right when the opposite side of your designer paper shows through at that end. If you were not doing it correctly, this is what it would look like, and you wouldn't have that extra design there. Okay, so now I want to take my tear and tape, and I'm going to go ahead and run that tear and tape across the back. All right. And then this one piece here, I want that down. So I'm going to go ahead and put a little tack here. And then I'm going to bring this on over. And remember, if this is off a little bit, it's real easy just to kind of bend it and re-score it in case your paper was a little off, because they're not always squared. Alright, so let's set that aside for a second, and we'll come back, and I'm going to go ahead and stamp my greeting up at the top. And I think for this one we're just going to put just a note. And let's put that in here. And I want to bring this up as close to the top as I can get it. Make sure it looks straight. Alright, let's take our Memento Tuxedo Black. And I like, on this, I kind of go over it and then pat it. That way it kind of makes sure that you've got a full coverage of your ink. You bring it over, hold it for your 8-second rule while the ink transfers. Beautiful. Let's clean that stamp off and take it on out of there. Otherwise, I'll forget it in my Stamparatus until the next time I need it, and then I'll be wondering what I did with it. Alright, let's move this off. We don't need it any longer. Okay, so let's go ahead and start putting together a card. So what we want to do is bring over this piece, and I want to adhere it to this piece here before we bring it down onto this card part. Okay, so at this time you go ahead and remove this tear and tape, and you can really use any type of adhesive you want to use. I just find the tear and tape works well for me for this particular technique. Okay, now you don't need to worry about these floppy areas here that are open, because in this case we're going to be using this. Now let's say you didn't want to put a little corner top piece like that, then you could go ahead and adhere that down on each of the pieces to make sure it stays steady. But I would always suggest either a piece of ribbon or a topper like I'm using here to finish this card off. I think it looks elegant that way. So now we're going to go ahead and adhere this piece onto our curtain fold. So I'm just going to go ahead and use another piece of tear and tape. Bring this off. Can you believe we're in September? There's specials going on right now with some new dies to go with our stamps. Really exciting. I forgot to print it out before I made this video. I'll do that before the next one. But if you're here, I've got that one off a little bit, and let's see if I can move it. If not, we're going to leave it and I think I can salvage it. There we go. That's the one thing about using tear and tape. I'll just go ahead and trim that little bit of DSP that I pulled up whenever I pulled up that. Alright, so now we're going to place this down here right up underneath our greeting. And I think that looks good there. And we can do one of two things. I can either adhere it straight down, which I think I will because I've already got the dimensions from the fold that we've got on here. So I'm just going to go ahead and bring this down and adhere it with some liquid glue. Alright, there we go. Alright, and let's just finish it off with a little bit of jewels on there. And I think because we've said it's just a note, which indicates to me that there's something further to come after the greeting that says just a note, we're going to go ahead and put us some little dots right after just a note to indicate there's something else. Alright, so now that I've got this done, it'll be real easy for me to come back and make an inside greeting for whatever kind of card I want, because I've put just a note on there. It can be an anniversary card, a happy birthday card, a thanking of you, thank you, just anything you can think of that you want to put on the inside. Okay, so that finishes up this card, and bring back the other one so you can see what I made and how they are different, but still of the same technique. So until next time, happy stamping and God bless.